Welcome, everyone. I am Chris Gore, and I am happy to report to you today that the Detroit Lions are undefeated. They are the best team in the NFL. Last night's game against the Chiefs, Jared Goff led the Lions to victory. I'm very excited. But we're going to talk about movies today. On the show, The Nun Part 2, plus No More Bets, which is a Chinese film that we want to talk about, Jawan, an Indian film that we're going to talk about, and Amerikatsi. Plus, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 will not be reviewed on the show today because Alan forgot to see it. But we're going to give you a second chance, and you will vote whether Alan goes to see the film or not. Alan's fate is in your hands. Plus, an interview with the director of My Animal, a film. I think it's opening in theaters or on VOD today. I don't know. I'm going to check. The internet will tell me. So much to talk about. Plus, your comments, questions, concerns, your worries. I don't know what's going on. Let's get the show started. Let's go. And let's just do it. Typical. It still didn't work.
Alan!
Glenn.
Yeah. Our producer Glenn always making these. It's always Alan. Alan is a very memeable face. Alan has a very memeable face.
By the way, if you're gonna make me see My Big Fat Greek Wedding, that means we're gonna have to talk about My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And,
My Big Fat Greek
if
Wedding.
You want to use up precious time to talk about.
Well, Alan, first of all, you're gonna need to refresh your memory and rewatch. Assuming you already watched My Big Fat Greek Wedding 1 and 2.
Look, I like the first one. I think I've seen that a few times. The second one I've not seen. But
the first one I saw years ago when it came out.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I was good. I was good with the one movie. I didn't know we needed a 3. But every time I see that trailer, I kind of cringe. I definitely cringe. So
the upside is, I'm a huge fan of Andrea Martin, and she's in all 3.
Yeah, well, she's original from
SCTV.
SCTV, that's right.
Yeah, and then John Corbett is a nice guy, kind of like him, and
he's a nice guy. He's a very nice guy. Before we get so yes, I don't want anyone to assume like just because I'm wearing a sports jersey, which I did wear at Yard House last night. I walked into Yard House before seeing The Nun II, and all I could say was sports. Let's go sports. But I don't want people to think my nerd cred is still not there, because this jersey in the number 4 in the emblazoned blue Detroit Lions colors. Okay. The number 4 is the number for Jason Hanson, who was the kicker for the Detroit Lions, who was probably the lead scorer, because he was clutch. This guy, you threw up Jason Hanson, and that guy, boom. I mean, he almost every time, it was very rare that he missed a kick. But because you can customize jerseys, I'll show you something. This is why you tune in early to the show, because you get to see the banter. But I don't want to ruin my geek cred. So here, check this out. You got to read that, Alan.
Oh yeah, Mr. Fantastic. We know what that is. And it's the number 4.
It's the number 4, and it says Mr. Fantastic. And so that's a nerdy thing. I do have a bunch of jerseys, and there's all like something a little nerdy about all of them. But before we get to the reviews, and also we're going to run a poll. Should Alan see and review My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3?
And remember, we're gonna talk about it if I have to do it. So.
Well, I'm gonna vote no, because I don't think our audience cares about the movie. I don't. Every time I see the trailer, I kind of cringe, and I don't care. I feel like there are certain films. There's a lot of we always like keep this running list of what movies are playing in theaters, and what's worth seeing, worth not seeing. We want to kind of give this is the biggest movie opening in theaters. We're going to see it regardless. But I don't know. Did we need to see a My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3? Let's run the poll, Ms. P. Coffee. Put up that poll. And make sure
yesterday.
Wait. Okay.
No, yesterday I was gonna say was gonna be a triple feature for me. I saw Jawan, I saw No More Bets, and by the time after being in the theater for 5 hours, it was like I just don't have the energy, and I just don't think people care. So I chose not to.
And your dog didn't see any movies yesterday, and I just want to say I appreciate that Alan named his dog after a drug.
Yeah, party drug.
A party drug.
Yeah, look at her.
So there you go. We're going to keep the poll up for 10, 15 minutes. Let's go to some comments and see who's here today. Oh man, a lot of great comments at the top. Let's go. Castillo Perez has become a YouTube member. Thank you, Castillo. We appreciate it. Marty McKay, hoy hoy, none of that. One Punch Man Tolkien fan. That is a good thumbnail, FT. Well, thank you very much. You can thank Glenn. He is the thumbnail master. Davina Duckworth says, my Big Fat Friday Film Threat stream for me, none for you, TGIFT. That's what I would say. Thank you, Davina. I am unknown, am interested in Poor Things. I need a quick show note. Poor Things opened at the Venice Film Festival. Poor Things also moved its release date now to December. So when we create the live stream links, we do them kind of a month in advance, and sometimes the schedule changes. So Poor Things, this is like my top film that I'm dying to see, at least for the month of December, starring Emma Stone. The trailer's incredible. There's a really interesting featurette that's like a minute long that they released. It got an 8-minute standing ovation at Venice.
Did you see the headline about the story?
What was the head? What?
Well, so I know nothing about this movie. I think I've seen the trailer, but the headline is basically she, I guess she embodies a child. She has the mind of a child and then has sex. So it's
she has a mind of a child.
Yeah, mind of a child, and so it's a pseudo pedo movie.
It looks like it's going to be weird. Her performance, they're already saying Best Actress. She's going to get nominated. We'll see.
Over Margot Robbie, really?
For Barbie, I think Margot Robbie's going to get nominated. Also, this is the world we live in now. It's bizarre, but
considering there are not that many movies coming out for award season,
right. Lord Thoughts says, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, sign up as a member, then join us on Discord. We have cookies and prizes. That's right. We do have prizes. And if you're a member, check the community tab on YouTube. I have stacks of DVDs that I am giving away for members. So the instructions are there on how to get all this. I have piles of stuff that I'm giving away. So if you're a member, check the community tab. On September 5th, which was my birthday, is when I posted this, because I'm not really good at receiving gifts, but I love to give stuff away. So please, if you're a member of the channel, I appreciate your support. I want to give stuff away. In fact, somebody sent in a special message that, fine, I'm going to play this because Alan is forcing me to do this. Blame Alan.
I heard I brought dishonor to my family, so I'm not wishing you a happy birthday, Chris.
I am. No, she's rude. Happy birthday.
Does anyone else want to wish Chris Gore a happy birthday?
Happy birthday, Chris!
Happy birthday!
Well, that was your daughter, who's your daughter's your X-Ray Girls European Adventures. I've been following the adventures on social media and on YouTube, and they seem to be having too good of a time. And that showed up on a live stream, and that was great.
That was the Wednesday meetup.
Yeah, her and Adam Krigler, who I've never met. I've been on shows that he has been on, but I have never been on a stream with him. It's very weird. It's very weird. All right. Back to your comments before we launch into reviews for today. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Imperfect says, I really liked the first Nun movie. So scary. Well, we're going to get into it. I saw the Nun. I saw the Nun II. Let's go. MM, who's a member, religious horror, when done right, is top notch. Imperfect. Film threat, party time. Excellent. Says imperfect. I like that. John Manalang, hail chat and TGI FT. So, how about them Rotten Tomatoes, eh? Disney Cash. If we have time, we'll get into it. If not, save it for Wednesday, which we mostly talk about. Go Bills, Mafia, says Spidey Sensei 72. Beerosaurus Rex says, can we start calling it my big fat Greek wedding saga now? It is. It's the connected universe with all the bad romantic comedies. MM, who's a member. MM, who's a member, says, I saw Mad Heidi. I'm not sure who it's for, but it's definitely for them. The reverse is likely true. I loved it, but man, that was a ride. Thanks for the recommendation. What a weird movie. I love Mad Heidi. We were supposed to have Casper Van Dien on from the film. He plays the dictator, the evil villain. I really love that film, but it's like, it is a bad, cheesy exploitation movie with the nudity, hyper violence, and even more nudity. If that
the lactose intolerance.
Yeah, it's what's funny is you could draw an analogy with Mad Heidi that it's not about cheese, that it's about people being prejudicial towards other people because they don't want to do a thing. They don't want to eat cheese.
They don't process dairy correctly. So what they do is they vilify the people that don't like cheese. It really is an interesting thing about authoritarianism and fascism that I think is, look, yes, it's a cheesy exploitation movie, but it really is about much more. But thank you, MM, for trusting my recommendation. I always try to temper recommendations that come from me, if you like trauma movies, you'll like this. So right. I know not everybody likes those kind of movies. You're right. It's a political commentary on our time.
It's a veiled political commentary that you could read into. I'm not joking. I know. Okay, there's a lot of chat. Hey, Buford T. Justice for $49.99. Happy Friday, boys. Thank you, Buford T. Oh, I appreciate that. He's extremely generous. Appreciate his support. More super chats here. Yorazuya for 10, who's a member. Alan has been tortured enough. Let him have a break, Chris. Well, I'm telling you, do vote no for Alan to not see my Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. I'm voting no. I'm voting no. So there you go. Also, there might be election interference. You never know. There could be election interference. Look, just give Alan a break. So another
you could have given me a break by not putting the poll up in the first place.
Well, that's true, but it always is fun to have a poll. So no nonch for €2. Have you seen the Robin Hood trailer? Yes, I've seen it. It looks freaking awful. It's not, I don't even know what network it's on. It's like a Canadian show. Robin Hood.
This is an indie project, which means it's not like the big networks or any of the big streamers.
Right.
I honestly don't have a problem with indie filmmakers or indie filmmakers doing this.
It's it's Robin in the Hood, like Robin Hood, and it's an all black cast and all the bad guys are white.
Yeah. So and I feel like this has been done before.
That's great.
Hasn't this been done before?
Look,
Robin in the Hood story.
Look, we're living in a time where racial relations are perfectly fine and nothing's wrong. Mm-hmm. So a show like the timing of the show like this could not be better. Yeah. It could not be better. Why not?
I know. Back when America was racist, but today
everything is, yes, it's only getting better because of shows like that.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nanaj. Kitty 83. I love Alan. He's always such a great sport.
Oh,
Kitty, it was fun hanging out. We didn't get to hang out enough. You disappeared on Saturday. Yes. Kitty 83 was at Dragon Con. It was a lot of fun. So there you go. That's all I'll say. There might be pictures, embarrassing pictures, mostly of me on the internet. So thank you. Yeah, I love Alan too. Alan is the drunk 3PO of Film Threat, says Anthony Buck. No, I love. Well, that's why I think we balance each other out, because I can be a little aggro, but it's all in good fun. It takes a lot to actually get me really upset and angry, but yeah. So yeah.
Did you want to talk about the last podcast? Or
no, we're not. We're just
Okay.
gonna keep moving on. We got here. Let's see.
Just saying it's all good. We're all good.
We're all good. I like Alan, so I'm gonna vote no. They've had enough punishment from Ahsoka. Tell me about it. Alan Horkin, Molly looking intense today. You know what we should do? On Critical Drinker, I was on a show yesterday. They have the Critical Doggo. Could you set up a separate camera with a stream where you sign into StreamYard, but it's just your dog? It's just Molly?
It's possible. She does it. She likes that spot there, but she likes being everywhere.
You know, it's just this running theme that they have.
Well, it's Zootopia. I don't think Zootopia's Pixar.
It's not. It's Disney. But
It is.
racist, even though I guess, but you know, it's the father who doesn't want her daughter.
Talk about intense. That was intense.
I want to know
So
how he does that stuff.
critical Molly. Why not? D Dinks for £5. Will you get a chance to see Mads Mikkelsen's new film, The Promised Land? Looks good. We will see it. We have like a running list of like what movies open what weeks and kind of plan out. Alan and I both try to see the biggest movie, but when there's a movie like this weekend, it's sort of a mixed bag of movies that have been released, so that so we kind of divide and conquer, where Alan will see different films than I see. Alan was supposed to see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, but you can save him from this fate. Just a few more minutes. Just 5 more minutes on this poll. Okay. So there you go. Beerosaurus
Look at
Rex.
next week's. Look at next week's, and we're kind of. Is Dumb Money really coming out next week?
I am seeing Dumb Money, I believe, soon. So there you go. Beerosaurus Rex says, I was kind of disappointed with Mad Heidi. She didn't really become mad until the last third and then barely did anything. I was expecting more of a Kill Bill type deal. You didn't like the scene in the big stadium where it's sort of gladiator style? She's taking out the 2 buff ladies. I assume they're ladies. You never know these days. I live in California. All right. But at least you checked it out. So you were supporting independent film. The sound of one man laughing. Hello, gentlemen. Chris, if you don't want a happy birthday, I'll wish you both a 69 filled autumn. Well, thank you for that. No, it's just that my birthday becomes like a distraction. Like, I don't like, as much as like I'm on YouTube and talk about film and whatnot, I don't like things to all be about me. And when it's your birthday, things all become about you or the person whose birthday it is. I look forward to other people's birthdays more than my own birthday. Like my kids' birthdays, I love it. I go all out. I have fun. If it's a friend's birthday, I like to kind of have fun with a friend's birthday. I have a huge box of just random gifts that like, oh, someone likes so-and-so. So I have like, I'll just grab it, wrap it up and have fun. I like giving gifts is fun. I like to make it fun. More MAGA says they haven't spoken in years. Why, Alan? Yeah, why? Alan?
Oh, it's those slutty furniture building videos. All right, until he stops that nonsense.
All right, well, just
not invited to the house.
Rooftop Korean, why are you voting him no to review? These dudes are reviewers. They're supposed to wade in the suck to find the gems. All right, well then vote yes. I don't know. I saw the trailer. I already know what I think of my big fat Greek wedding 3, only from watching the trailer. But that's just me. Greece
maybe the phrase "not for me" comes to mind.
Yeah, not for me. Greece is gorgeous, much better scenery than the dreary and boring Nun II, though it is better than the really shitty Nun I. And Razorburn says, Chris, there was someone dressed as the nun over at Dragon Con last week. Not only that, there were like a group of nuns. I took the photo. I'll post it on my personal Instagram.
A group of nuns.
So, yeah. So there you go.
Maybe
Oh,
they're
wait.
just
Hey,
nuns.
AJ Sifax is here. Hail, Chris and Alan. Looking forward to seeing everyone at Chrissy's show tonight. So,
Yes.
myself, Alan, and Dante will be at Chrissy Mayr's show tonight. And Lila Hart will also be there. And the lovely Keanu. If you've been watching the Chrissy Mayr pool party videos, someone told me about them. Someone told me about these videos. But yeah, so we're all going there tonight. It's at the Pineapple Hill Saloon. That venue is significant for a few reasons. Look it up. Pineapple Hill Saloon. That was famously the bar that completely did outdoor seating to comply with all of these new rules, and yet directly next to her, and she was shut down. Her bar and restaurant was shut down, and then directly next to her was a film crew eating outside on benches, and she had spent all this money on her small business. Disgusting how small business owners were treated during the response to the pandemic. I'm not even going to call it the pandemic anymore. I'm going to call it our response to the pandemic. That's more accurate. Our response to the pandemic. That's what it was. And there were self-inflicted wounds that hurt small businesses like the owner of the Pineapple Hill Saloon. And we're going to the comedy show there tonight. Tickets are still available. Go to Chrissy Mayr's website for the
ChrisssyMayer.com.
ChrisssyMayer.com. Mike MC Wong, sorry for dragging you out on your birthday. Didn't realize you hated it so much. No, I don't hate it. I just don't like to be the center of attention. That's what I'm saying. You know what? I appreciate it. I appreciate that I have so many wonderful friends, so many wonderful and loyal friends like Alan, Dante, Mike MC Wong, his lovely wife Desiree, Ramesh, Kate. Who else? Am I forgetting anyone? Paulie from Latino Slant. I just blessed with so many great friends. Should Alan see my big fat Greek wedding 3? Yes, 54%. No, 45%.
We need 500. We need to
votes.
wait till we get to 500 votes.
Now, that's very close. Did we talk about what the margin of error was?
No, we're not gonna. I'll do it. That's what everyone. If everyone wants to talk about my big fat Greek wedding 3, we'll talk about my big fat Greek wedding 3 next.
We'll talk about it Wednesday, but we're talking about and you know, I want to ask a question here because I was discussing with Dante last night. We were like, we should do a third live stream, and the third live stream for Film Threat could be on a Monday because there aren't any big shows on Monday. We could do it Monday afternoon. We could call it Monday Movie Talk, MMT. Call it Monday Movie Talk. That's a fun name. It's original. And then what we do is, but that show is different than the show. So Alan and I will do our show Hollywood on the Rocks on Wednesday, the normal Friday Film Threat Livecast on Fridays, and then Monday Movie Talk. But Monday Movie Talk is different because what we'll do is we'll invite a group on. It'll be like a group show. So we'll have Dante, Paulie, and other guests on. So it'll be a group show, kind of like our own version of, FNT, but different. Does that make sense? Are you in favor of that, Alan?
We could do that. Trying to
Let's
think.
do a poll, Ms. P Coffee, and we'll do a poll. Should Film Threat do a third weekly live stream on Monday called Monday Movie Talk? Question. Let's do a poll, and we'll have the results, in the next at the top of the hour. My God, we're so behind.
Yeah, I'm saying if we're gonna do MMT Monday Movie Talk, we need to do shirtless gym photos.
We'll do shirtless gym photos for that. Hey, Castigan has become a YouTube member. Thank you, Castigan. Appreciate that. JTPRX. Chris is the Zeus god of Film Threat and can override the poll with his veto power to save Alan.
That's true.
But it was a very close vote. It's a very close vote. Here's what I'm going to say. I would not make Alan go see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, only if he really wants to go see it. I actually leave it up to Alan.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I will make an effort. To do it by Wednesday might be a little tough, but I think I can
do your best. Do your best, Alan. Wouldn't it be great if you just dragged it out and was like, I'm going to see it and review it, but I'm going to wait till it's on VOD. I'm going to wait to see it until it's on a streaming. Wouldn't it be funny if you because okay, so you said he has to go see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. We didn't say when Alan had to go see it.
Yes.
So there you go.
Wait. Yeah, when it comes out on DVD. We'll do it.
When it comes out on Blu-ray, I will definitely see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. And then it's going to be like a gag gift. So there you go. Let's see. Okay, we got some Rumble, quick super chat Rumble, then we're getting right to it.
One of them is a nun comment, so I don't know if you want to say it.
Here we go. Okay. Brian Keith, who's a member for 10, says, I finally saw Oppenheimer. I enjoyed it, even though it was long. I will probably never watch it again, despite liking the movie. Are there movies you have both seen and have the same thought process?
I mean, Oppenheimer, I agree. I liked it. I liked it as a character study. I think the length keeps me from wanting to see it again.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of movies like that where I'll see it and I'll go like, well, I'm good. I saw it one time.
Titanic was the other one.
What's that?
Titanic. I got it out of the way. I saw it. It was fine.
Well, there you go.
The hype, but I'm not going to watch that again.
But thank you, Brian Keith. Yeah, there's a lot of films that are like that for me. It's mostly forgettable mainstream Hollywood movies. Like, I don't know, just a lot of them I will never see again. And then when I revisit movies, it's because there's something, intrigue me or I want to look for something I may not have noticed. People are suggesting, thank you, Brian, for that. Manic Monday says imperfect. Tony G says, what time? How about 1 p.m. Pacific time on Mondays? Or we could push it to later.
Let me see. Well, I mean, you have
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Midnight's Edge in the morning.
Well, Midnight's Edge in the morning, but we could do 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I don't know. Manic Monday, a case of the Monday, says Patrick Lemire. Another super chat here. Rogstar for 999. Morning, Chris Allen. Love the show. Definitely a must watch every week as I've totally checked out of broadcast television. I appreciate the Gore rants. And Allen's daughter seems nice too. Yeah, she is.
Hi, Dad. I miss you.
Miss her. She's in Europe.
Dad, help me.
Well, there you go. Yeah, bring in Paulie and the gang, says Imperfect. No, we want to it'll be a group show. So it'll be different than Wednesday, which is Alan and I, Friday, which is Alan and I. Our Monday show would be a group of, different people, guests, YouTubers that we like. And that, so there you go. Let's see. John Thomas for 5. Chris, did you see Mads Mikkelsen's response to a reporter asking about film not meeting Oscar diversity rules? 1700s period piece. I did not see that, but I do think those rules are stupid. We've spoken about it many times. Forced diversity destroys creativity and locks artists into rules. I think an artist should make their own rules. They make their own rules for what they're trying to say with a film. mean, I don't care. How about let's see a movie with all Asians? Didn't one of those just win Best Picture Oscar, Parasite? Is that now ineligible because it's all one ethnicity? Koreans? Who cares? Tell me a good story. Stop it with this. It's nonsense. It is absolute nonsense. I did not see, but why don't you look it up, Alan? We'll get to it. Call sign
Also,
Alucard.
I have to ask a question: Is Oppenheimer eligible for the Best Picture this year?
I don't know, because part of it is people who work behind the scenes. I just said somebody should create an app, call it Diversity Hires, and it's like Uber. Okay, so here's what you do: you've got investors. Investors are visiting the office to decide whether or not to give a loan to your company to expand your business.
Yeah, but they
Download-
have that. Don't you remember in the articles about this that there's a list of 24 organizations that you can hire? to
Well,
ensure
Ava
that you
DuVernay
need
has
diversity?
Ava DuVernay has one where it's just production crew members, and you can just hire people, and it's all people that are skilled in their in their area of expertise when it comes to film production, but they're not white. This is stupid. So I'm sorry about this. Call sign Alucard says, Chris, you keep dodging questions, having to leave before they do super chats. I have asked on multiple other podcasts to give you shit. Top 5 dog movies, TV shows. Well, that's easy. Let's go. Lassie,
Turner and Hooch.
Turner and Hooch. Was that a TV show?
No, that was a movie. Dog movie / TV show.
The Shaggy DA,
The Amazing Dobermans.
and Plague Dogs. Plague Dogs is a cartoon that was made in the 70s. Look this up. By the way, it's free on YouTube. You want dog movies? Call sign Alucard. I've got you. Plague Dogs is a British film that was made by the same filmmakers as Watership Down. I haven't had enough coffee here. Watership Down, which is a beautiful film that's not for children, about rabbits. So the same filmmaker made a movie called Plague Dogs about 2 dogs that are being experimented on. This is animated, by the way. They escape from this animal experimentation lab, and the media puts out that these dogs are infected with the plague and need to be destroyed, so they're chased down by everyone. It's the movie tanked and bombed, but it's the same guy who made Watership Down. Hey, heel versus babyface for 20.
Oh, hey.
20 pounds, proper money, as Gary would say. People should purposely not adhere to the rules so no films can be eligible, and the Oscars are humiliated and fall apart unless they change. Absolutely. And shout out to Az. He has. I'm thinking of that meme where Wonder Woman has the shield and she's getting shot with machine guns and just taking the flak. Love it. Az did this great rant about this game Starfield, a game I actually was interested in that game. Have no interest now in playing it, but he had this epic rant, and it needed to be said. And I think the reason the rant, you should look up Az's rant if you've not seen it 7 times, which I have, which is so great. I think it's the culmination of just everything. I'm tired of this nonsense.
Mhm.
Tired of being distracted with this nonsense. So thank you, Az.
And thank you for all the new Twitter followers.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my God. Yeah, thank you.
That was a mixed bag. It's like I got a lot of Twitter followers, and then all the comments of
Yeah. And then you put in your pronouns,
associate
which I
with
think are
these people.
Oh my God. Oh no. I don't care. Here's the thing. I like everyone that Az
put my
recommended
pronouns.
they all think exactly the same, and they all have the exact same opinions. I'm tired of this. I judge people as individuals, not as a group, or I don't assume because someone is a certain thing, that they think a certain way. That is midget-minded thinking. I'm tired of dealing with midget-minded people. And
The Doberman.
thank God,
that's what I was-
thank God for Az just standing up and not giving a shit. And just I appreciate it. But yes, Plague Dogs is on my list. The Doberman Gang.
Doberman Gang.
Oh,
That's
good.
the one I was referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh,
Thanks, Alvin.
Yeah.
Kraft.
Also, hey, with
Thank you, Az.
everything that's happened, wait till we talk about Jawan, because you're gonna like.
Oh,
that.
cool. I just think artists should not have rules imposed on them if they want to get awards. To me, it means those awards are meaningless. Those awards are meaningless now because you're imposing rules on artists. The only rules should be, I don't know. They have very basic rules that are pretty easy to get around. But Chris,
Yeah.
okay, we got to get to reviews today,
Yeah.
Alan. We have only an hour left to review all these movies.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Oppenheimer will make it in because the gaffer was non-binary.
Is that true?
I have no idea.
They just create an app. I'm just going to order a bunch of people to show up on set or to my company.
Just hang out in craft services.
There you go. Chris Wakefield for $9.99. I rewatched a film from the 90s called The Edge with Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins, and I highly recommend revisiting it. Probably the best survivalist film ever. Well, that's a really good recommendation. It's disheartening because a lot of movies from the 90s, and there's movies from certain eras that are missing because they're not on streaming. You think you have a streaming service, you have everything? Not true. Not true. So there's a group of films. They're called, the term that's called in the industry is called cine-orphans, which is movies that are out and then unreleased. And I'll say this, there's a film that I made years ago that's also a cine-orphan called My Big Fat Independent Movie. Early next year, we're releasing a Blu-ray special edition, the 20-year anniversary of the film. Well, it's 20 years from when we shot it. Anniversary edition of the film, and it will be out on digital. It's called My Big Fat Independent Movie. It's not on any streaming service. And by the way, Attack of the Doc, we're down to one box.
Oh, hey.
If sales continue at the pace that they're going, the Blu-ray will sell out. I thought I had enough copies to last until the end of the year. Go to attackofthedoc.com or shop.filmthreat.com and pick up your copy. We're down to one box. At a certain point, we will have to announce that I'll have to reorder, and it takes if there's enough interest. If interest wanes and this last box lasts us a month or two, whatever.
Yeah.
But
the issue is the minimum order for a reorder too big?
That's the thing. I have to do the math and decide if it's even worth it. So, oh my God. Thank you, Chris. Should Film Threat do a third stream on Mondays called Monday Movie Talk? 87% says yes. No, 12% out of 156 votes. Yeah, we will launch that. I don't know that we'll do it in the month of September, but we're going to do a third show. We talked about it.
Yeah.
So that's great. The point of art is no rules, says Imperfect. Thank you. And Banyer.
Let me address that for one second. There are rules in art, but it's the great artists who know how to break those rules.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So there you go. Profound thoughts.
We got to get through these. We got to get through these chats, people.
Go do it.
Okay, we got to get through. Bonnier. Hey, I know Bonnier. Michael was mediocre in film school, couldn't get arrested in commercials, made a horror short, and is now making equally mediocre movies, including Nun II. He fooled them all. Happy belated boomer. Am I a belated boomer? Thank you, Bonnier. I know who you are. Bonnier was texting me before the show saying, hey, what? And I'm trying to get ready for the show. And Bonnier's texting me going so what time are you getting to Chrissy Mares? I'm trying to start the show, trying to get my coffee. I'm nearly post coffee. This is me being fake mad. But thank you, Bonnier. I will see you tonight. MK Solid 82 for 499. Chris, have you met Joe Bob Briggs often? I haven't met him often, but I've met him. Never heard you mention him. He is a pioneer of movie fandom and brings awareness to old unknown films. I love Joe Bob Briggs. I've loved him since the 90s. He does that show on Shudder with his lovely assistant. And I love Joe Bob Briggs because he, like myself, will champion movies that people are unaware of. So love him. We wrote an article about him in Film Threat in the 90s. Just, hey, Joe Bob Briggs, friend of Film Threat. So yeah, I mean, he does his own thing, and I applaud him. And I went, in fact, during our response to the pandemic. During our response to the pandemic, they did a drive-in at Halloween in October. They did a drive-in at the Rose Bowl, and it was Joe Bob Briggs doing a presentation. They had zombies there, merch. And so you're in your car watching a horror movie. They had like a triple feature they had like horror film shorts, and they had a couple features. It was awesome. Great night, drinking in the car, eating popcorn, having a blast. And they unleashed armies of zombies to come up to your car and scare you. It was the Joe Bob Briggs drive-in theater. I had a blast. Always loved Joe Bob Briggs. And I don't know, send him my best. I love him. I follow him on Instagram. I don't know if he's on Twitter, but on Instagram, just love the guy. He knows probably more about exploitation films than I do. And I don't know, always considered him one of the greats. So thanks, MK Solid 82. Enrico Palazzo for 5. Chris, I'm rewatching some old favorites, but found no review of Cold Comfort Farm on Film Threat. For shame. We may have reviewed it in the magazine. So we may have reviewed it in the magazine. I don't know. I mean, look, Film Threat, like, there have been periods where Film Threat didn't cover things. The website was launched in 1996, but it was like an HTML format. We've gone through many incarnations of the internet, web 1.0, 2.0, now 3.0. It's a mixed bag. We're not IMDb. We don't have everything.
Yeah.
But thank you,
Came out in
Enrico.
1995.
Yeah, so we would have covered it. I am certain we covered it in the printed magazine of Film Threat. And I'm thinking about launching a Kickstarter where what you will get is all the copies of Film Threat scanned digital. Every single issue, including extras. But I'm going to do that someday in the future. So there you go. Let's see. Do you guys review direct-to-video streaming films? Says Jeremiah M. Yeah. You know, if it's a significant one, I'm sure we're going to review Rebel Moon when it comes out in December. Yeah, we do a lot of VOD films, like indie movies for the most part, VOD.
Especially on the website.
But if they are a big film, like something coming out from a Netflix or whatnot, and on video on demand, but mostly on the website, go to filmthreat.com. And then also, you know, but if we do a third show, we'll have more room to do things like that. Says make old print issues available online. Probably not. What I'd rather do is do something that will help support the site. And so probably do a Kickstarter and then make them available. I am thinking about doing a limited edition, like coffee table book, like a Taschen book that'll reprint I want to call the book The Worst of Film Threat. And then just do like articles, old, stuff that's rare, photos that have been unpublished. I have the Film Threat archives. It's a stack of boxes right here. And I could make like a very rare hardcover book. So there you go.
Okay, we got films to get to.
Mac Man Chicken. I don't know if Alan is using a compressor on his mic or what, but it's messed up. Too slow of a release time. If so,
Yeah, I'm Yeah, I mean, do you notice anything or
You sound perfect to me.
okay? Yeah, and I did an interview the other week, and it's Glenn was telling me that there may have been an issue when it goes out in the stream, but it seems to sound fine right
It
now
seems
or
to sound
on our end.
fine now. You might want to adjust your gain. I don't know. Our sound expert, Steve Gonzalez, is going to help us. We're going to get with him in the next week or so. So, one last comment because we have reviews and we're going to go rapid fire on reviews.
Oh, this is a Nun comment, so you might want to save it for that.
Okay, I'm going to save that comment for when we discuss the Nun. But before we discuss the Nun, let's get to Jawan. Alan,
Yes.
you saw Jawan. Tell us about Jawan.
Jawan, all right. So this is from India, and I believe this is Bollywood, if I'm not mistaken. But Jawan uh, tells the story of the legendary hero of Vikram Rathore, who was a member of special forces. He was a great hero of the time. But during his last mission for India, uh, his gun and the gun of his team malfunctioned. In fact, the people that the the corps that he was trying to rescue, all their guns had failed. Um, so he was able to rescue some of them, but a lot of people died, and he publicly blamed the gun manufacturer. And by doing that, he exposed corruption within the Indian government. And the gun manufacturer decides that he's just going to get rid of Vikram, and he frames him for the death of his soldiers. He then murders him. He then sends the wife to jail, his wife to jail, and she is sentenced to death. And just before the noose is being hung around her neck, she, they find out she's pregnant. She has their son Arad, who and because she's pregnant, the laws are that she cannot be executed until the boy turns 5. And so the boy is raised in prison, and we find out that all the women in this prison were framed, and they basically become surrogate mothers. And then when finally his mother is hung, the woman in charge then of the prison uh, continues to raise Arid. Cut 30 years later, Arid is now the warden of the prison, and he sees more and more corruption in government. In fact, his goal in life is to exonerate his father's name, and he does so by basically he dons the look of his father. He gets makeup artist. He makes him look like his father, and then he goes out and and basically causes terrorist crimes, all in the name of helping the poor. So he ultimately becomes the Robin Hood of India, and the women of the prison are his married men, so to speak. So he trains the women to be elite military force, and they go out, and the first thing they do is they hijack a train, and they hold the hostages they hold the passengers hostages, including the big mafia guy's daughter, and it makes them donate all this money to all the poor farmers. So so this is the thing. This is there's comparisons we can make with RRR, but this is kind of a modern Robin Hood tale. And I really like this movie. You do have to kind of get through 3 or 4 dance numbers because Arad falls in love with the um, the chief negotiator, who's really hot, and she doesn't know that Arad is Vikram in disguise, and so they wind up getting married. Uh, so here's the thing. This is what I love about foreign films. Foreign films are not hung up on American bullshit. This is Arad is just a yeah, the heroes are these good looking guys with big muscles and handsome as hell. The ladies who help him are beautiful. You're not sitting through a movie wondering, okay, what are they going to throw at us? What are they going to throw at us? No, it's just a straightforward tale. men are men, women are women, bad guys are bad guys. Good versus evil. Um, and at the end of the movie, not that I'm not spoiling this, but at the end of the movie, they get into the area of voter corruption. And the message so Vikram goes on national television. Artist Vikram goes on national television as one of the or as one of the, he did another terrorist act, and this is one of the demands. He goes on television and tells the entire nation of India to think for themselves. When they go to the voting booth, look at each candidate, what they believe in, and make your own decision, and then vote. That's the message he gives to all of India. And so this is, it's like, why can't Americans make this movie? Why are we so hung up on wokeness, hung up on the messaging? And this is true for both the left and the right. Just tell a story and give us some good principles we can all follow.
Well, I mean,
The last the last thing I want to
ahead.
say is the action. It has that. We see this a lot in indie movies. It's playing around with frame rate, and so all the action scenes, it slows down and then it speeds up. But what I noticed is that there's such great attention paid to each of these action sequences that I realized that when these action scenes slow down, when it gets to its slowest moment, it replicates basically a comic book page. And so if you were to string all these moments where they slow the time down and just capture do a screen capture, you're looking at comic book pages. And I think that's essentially why this device is being used. And so, yeah, go ahead. I highly recommend this movie. You
Well,
should
is
see
it
this movie.
like is it have a feel of like RRR where it's epic and like lots of action, and also I saw Paulie from Latino Slant. Shout out to him. He did a review on his channel. Go check out his review. He did it right out of the theater, and he did apparently, was there an intermission in the film?
It was a split-second intermission.
Okay. At his theater, they actually played the entire intermission. He actually came out of the theater to this is my mid review. So during the intermission, he gave his thoughts, then went back in and followed up, which I thought was really cool. I'm really interested to see this because obviously RRR
Well,
was a
let
big
me
thing
compare it
last
to
year.
RRR. It's not epic. It's an action movie, so it's more on the expendable side of in tone. RRR, this is not gonna get the Oscar buzz going. It's just an action movie. It's a straight out action movie.
Mhm.
And it's just a whole lot of fun.
All right. Well, so you recommend
I absolutely.
Jawan.
And
Cool.
again, it's like this is what American movies used to be like. They just
Yeah.
told the story. There was no nonsense, no no box checking.
Right.
And it's just kind of nice to sit back and not have to worry about anything. Just have a good
Right.
time.
Well, let's go to some quick comments related to Jawan here. JTPRX says it's really more on the left. That's what
Yeah.
your comment about voting.
Yeah,
Um,
both sides.
yeah, Carlos Alfredo Lopez R says dance numbers for sure. The real question is how many are there in the film? How many, Alan?
If I'm right, it's 4, but it could be 3.
Yeah, I know there were 2 in the first half. So yeah, 4 sounds about
And
right.
you're talking similar to Barbie, the dance number in Barbie.
John Thomas for 5. Do y'all think foreign films will be demonized for not being hotphobic and other cultural Marxist tropes? What's weird is foreign films can get away with this. Or, what's so funny is there are people in the industry that don't like to call them foreign films because that's othering. So the correct term is world cinema or global cinema rather than foreign films. It's so stupid. But
Yes,
no,
but you
what's
gotta
weird is
understand that this movie was made by the marginalized people of India who made it in India.
right, and don't care about. I don't know. What's weird is that, frankly, our entertainment was one of our biggest exports. That is not true anymore.
Yeah. Well, look
Where
at Netflix.
countries actively dislike other countries actively dislike American entertainment, in addition to Americans disliking American entertainment. We'll get into that. A few more
Let me
comments.
bring up
and then-
one. Let me bring up another thing in this movie. There are certain rules in American films you can't do. You can't harm children or women. And in this movie, they harm women, they harm children. There's a brutal village attack where they're basically executing everyone, including women.
Right.
And you see it's very graphic. And it's not that I'm for violence against women, but you just realize just how far we've gone as American cinema to where these rules are just noticeable. And these rules, when you see a dog survive a battle in a movie, in an American movie, well, of course the dog had to survive. But here there are no rules, so to speak. It's again, it was just refreshing to watch a movie like this.
Another comment here from Lod689. And to steal a recent Clips message, sounds like Jawan has meaningful deaths in the movie. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, it's an action movie, and so there are tropes around death. Yeah, there are meaningful deaths, and there are swerves here and there. Let's just put it that way.
Cool. Oh, so you recommend Jawan. All right.
Yeah.
A few more quick comments, unrelated, and then we're going to get to the Nun II because we running out of time. Today turned into like a chill stream. That's what I think our third live stream, Monday Movie Talk, will be kind of a chill stream with a bunch of people. So call sign Alucard for 499. Holy crap, Chris and Alan. I completely forgot about Watership Down. I saw that movie when I was 4 or 5. I remember emotions I felt originally. It affects me to this day. It's not a children's film. It's very spiritual. It's about rabbits finding their place in the world when everything is trying to kill them. It opens with this sort of crude animation of a god that gives them and it talks about the overpopulation of rabbits and giving them they become definitely the prey for all these types of predators. And so their god gave them the ability to run. John Hurt, of course, the actor from so many things, the original Alien, among so many others, such a great actor, John Hurt. He is the voice of the protagonist in Watership Down. Just a great animated movie. Call sign Alucard. It's free on YouTube. Check out Plague Dogs. Right after they made Watership Down, they made Plague Dogs. It is a rough watch. Let's just say that. And comment here, Tom Siebert, when tween Kim Richards got shot in the chest while ordering ice cream in John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13, it was one of the most shocking moments I'd ever seen in the movies. I remember that when the little girl and just like boom, her like chest like bursts and like with a gunshot wound, shocking. In addition to that little Kittner kid in Jaws, right? You remember the kid? He's like this 11, 12-year-old kid. I mean, when I saw Jaws, I was about that kid's age, and that is shocking. He was out on the raft. His mom's looking for him. You see like the blood sort of spurt in the water. In Jaws, it's the kid, the little Kittner kid. Everyone knows what I'm talking about, Alan. Acknowledge me.
You're right. You're great.
Thank you, Tom, for that comment. And the last comment here, super chat for 10. Moto Churro says, talk about the alley fight in They Live. By the way, They Live in theaters now. Do you know how I check my app for AMC to look at like what movies are playing? Do you realize how many classic films are just being brought back to theaters because there just aren't slots? Disney is releasing almost every classic Disney movie you can see for $5 in a movie theater. If you didn't see it, like, for whole generations of kids who didn't get to see certain Disney films in a theater. And the fact that these are profitable is telling.
It says something. That they have to pull out the classics. That they have to pull out the classics and not the more recent ones.
100%. So, love when Rowdy Piper went for the nut punch and got called out on it. So awesome. I love They Live. That's a movie that, like, I would like to see remade. The problem is in They Live originally, you go back, it's kind of about conservatives and Republicans, right? In a way, it doesn't overtly say that, but it's about the elites. I think that might flip. It's about a different type of elite now.
Yeah.
I would love to see a reimagining of They Live because conceptually it was such a cool concept. And that movie's a classic. Freaking John Carpenter, man. I saw that in theaters in first run when I was a kid, and it was awesome. So there you go. But yeah, hey, if it's playing, look up. They Live is in limited release in certain theaters. Check it out.
Yeah, I believe it's
All right.
AMC that's showing them.
Yes, yes. All right. Now we're gonna pivot. We're gonna pivot to another movie. What are we gonna talk about? What are you talking about?
I have no idea. I don't even know where that's from.
Now, there. First of all, so I saw the Nun II. Alan did not see the Nun II because we kind of Alan is not a huge horror fan. Not a huge horror fan. But what can you say? So I also, and I actually do really love horror. I don't like horror that's necessarily super gory. I prefer psychological horror. And the Nun series, well, now it's the Nun 2, and I'm assuming, having seen it, if this is successful, there will more than likely be a Nun 3. So there you are. But I did not see the first Nun, but I do appreciate the genre, which is religious horror. So that's set in 1956 in France. There is a series of bizarre and ghastly murders. In the opening scene, a priest floats in the air as he's burst into flames, and a character named Frenchie is possessed by a demon nun who's killing people, specific types of people, connected to a saint from the past. And the nun, which is, well, I wonder, is the nun, this is an interesting question. I never even thought of this until just now. Is the nun that's being referred to in the Nun series the demon nun that kills, or the heroic protagonist nun, Sister Irene, who defeated the nun, the demon nun, in the first film? And what's interesting is I hadn't seen the first Nun, but literally there's a flashback that tells you everything you need to know about the first Nun movie, and the flashback lasts about 20 seconds. And then it's like, oh, well, that was the story of, we basically got the recap of the first Nun. So there's a series of murders, and Sister Irene goes with her other sister, played by Storm Reed. And Sister Irene is played by Thaisa Farmiga, Vera Farmiga's daughter, interestingly. And they're in search of what is happening with all of these murders. They finally follow a pathway, because these murders are happening strategically at certain churches and whatnot, and which leads them to a school with a church where mysterious things are happening. And I have to give this movie credit. I had zero expectations going in. In fact, I was not looking forward to seeing this. I watched it. Dante and I went to a screening with our movie group, and I was pleasantly surprised. I jumped a bunch of times. You could say that there are cheap jump scares, but there are also some very good and clever jump scares. Visually speaking, there's a scene where Sister Irene is looking at a newsstand. She's seeing a vision before her, and the newsstand magazine covers kind of turn and create these weird patterns of images where you're seeing all the magazines kind of line up to tell a story and show a picture, a shocking picture. But the thing with this movie is it's pretty much the same throughout. I mean, it's just over 90 minutes. So thankfully the running time is not long. There's not a lot of dialogue, so it's hard to complain about any bad dialogue when there's very little of it. And pretty much this film taps into these primal fears of, I heard a sound in the dark. I'm afraid of the sound in the dark. Now I'm being chased. Rinse, repeat. That's the whole movie for practically 90 minutes. Is there's something in the dark. I'm going to go in the attic, or I'm going to go in this dark place, or I'm going to go behind the stairwell, or I'm going to go in this locked room I'm not supposed to go into. This is literally the whole movie. I'm like it never, it doesn't change. And once Sister Irene shows up, then she's just there with a little bit of like, you're feeling more comfortable at this point, but she has a relationship. Sister Irene has a relationship with Frenchie from the last film, but she figures out that he's the one that's possessed with the spirit. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but it happens in the first like third of the film. I'm not going to tell you how it's resolved, but I like this movie probably more than I should. I can't say it's great, but I can't also say it's bad. So it's kind of, it was fun while I watched it. If I have to kind of bottom line the film, I probably give it a 6 out of 10. That would be at best, maybe 5.5, 6 out of 10. But the movie does one thing, and it just does it over and over. There's something in the shadows. There's a sound. What's going to happen with the sound? I'm going to go in the corner. Ah! That's it. But it's weird because somehow in our primal lizard brains, in our DNA, humans are kind of wired to be afraid of the dark, afraid of sounds where they don't recognize the source of the sound, and being chased. And that just is kind of just, I don't know, it's wired in us. That's why I think we respond so much to horror films. And I actually thought that some of the scares were clever. That magazine newsstand incident that I described. There's this creepy nun kind of comes out of a wall, and then the lights come on, and you see like the pattern on the wall kind of looks like a nun, but it's not there. So I thought it was clever, but again, 6 out of 10 at best. I won't see this movie again, but I was surprised that I actually had a decent time seeing it. And Thaisa Farmiga as Sister Irene is actually pretty good. And the good thing is this movie did not overstay its welcome. 90 minutes in and out, scary, out. The audience seemed to enjoy it. And there you go. So not going to change your life. Not the greatest horror film of all time. But if you're putting up your Halloween decorations in September like I am, you'll probably go see The Nun II. And that reminds me, I need to put up my Halloween decorations. So I'm going to do that. I'm putting up my Halloween decorations on the member tab. I'm going to post photos of my Halloween decorations.
Or why don't you do a live stream of putting up your Halloween decorations?
I'm going to not do that, but I will take photos.
I painted my freaking room.
Should I do that? Do people want that? Is that like me? But see, the thing is, it's all over my place. So I couldn't if I could just set up a camera and only do like one thing, I do.
I mean, you should do it only on the member stream.
Well, I plan to.
So,
Yeah.
Okay. So the Nun II, the way I'm hearing it is it's essentially a walk through a haunted house. It's just walk from room to room, jump scares here and
It's
there.
literally, we're going to go in this dark place. What's in there? Let's go. Oh my God. It's quiet. Now it's loud. It's quiet. I'm going to walk over here. Now it's loud. I'm going to just go into this corner. I'm going to check this out. And then suddenly something scary happens. That's the whole movie. I literally am performing the movie for you in audio form. Let's go to your comment. So The Nun II, 6 out of 10. Better than expected. Not a horror film that's going to change your life. If it does decent box office, there will be a Nun 3 is my prediction. And I do like, nobody asked, but a lot of people will ask, is there anything woke about this film? Zero. There is zero.
Well, it sounds anti-Catholic to me.
Yeah. But it's not, I don't think it's anti-religious. I didn't get that feeling. I didn't get that feeling that it was anti-religious.
No more than movies like this from the past.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I am DeBrown for 5 says, how could you have seen They Live as a kid? It came out in 1988. Were you a super late bloomer? Yes, I was. Dude, I was driving in 1988. Don't get me started.
That's when the Dodgers won the World Series.
I am, let's just say I'm older than I appear, but I do not feel old at all. I feel like I'm 26. I pretty much stopped aging at 26, maturity wise. I might be a little wiser in certain things, but yeah, I was a kid. And by kid, I mean teenager. So I was a kid. So yeah. And I got a car. Years before I could drive. I got a car. A 1972 Chevelle SS painted orange with flames that never ran. I spent all this money and I was like, F it. And I bought a Mustang. So I was driving around in a beat up Mustang with over 100,000 miles on it. Didn't last very long. All I cared about was getting a car so I could go to the movies without asking my mom for a ride. Some guys wanted a car because they wanted to go out and get laid and go on dates. And while I did, I have to say, I did have interests in women. I did. And I was fortunate enough. I had this amazing high school girlfriend, Alex. She and I were friends through like junior high and high school, and became boyfriend and girlfriend. And she loved movies as much as I do. We would talk about Woody Allen movies. We were both into Monty Python. We bonded by being into weird films, and yeah. And oddly enough, we're still friends to this day. She still sends me a Christmas card every year, pictures of her kids. So yeah, so there you go. But yeah, no, I don't know about late bloomer. I was just a kid. I was definitely a late bloomer. Anarkitty 83 says, you definitely party like you're 26. Well, I mean, I do like to party, but everything in life is balance, right? Like I like to party. I know when to cut myself off. I know when to stop. I'm taking a break. You know what I mean? Like, I know what, yeah, I don't know.
You're
Everything
very
in
chill
life is,
party. You're not,
yeah, just like
you're not
clean
frat guy
living.
party.
I'm not, but yeah, I just like to party, have a good time, and clean living, you know? I never smoked, never did drugs. I've tried certain drugs, didn't like them. Thank you, Anarkitty. Divina Duckworth says, you could say Chris is none the wiser for his experiences. I don't know how I feel about that comment. That's just, I've never loved a man more than I love Alan right now.
You and 100 other men.
Yeah, I'm not, but thank you for that, Davina Duckworth.
By the way, we
awesome.
are amping up the comedy, the nun puns in the comedy.
Yeah. Oh man, there's too many comments today.
A lot of
Little
them are
Gore.
nun puns.
Little Gore, screw chicks. I want to go to the movies, says Imperfect. That was actually me. From Rumble, Winter Soldier sub supporter. No, I need something to do tomorrow. And I was debating IMAX or standard for The Nun. I saw it in Dolby Digital. I think IMAX would be great. So yeah, you will have, look, for 90 minutes, there are really good scares. I have to give the movie credit. I have to give The Nun credit that it was better than expected. And my expectations were extremely low. Matthew Hammond for $4.99. Always love to see you, Matthew. They have an Alien from Mars Attacks that I saw someone set up for Halloween. I love that. I love it. Let's see more comments here. I'm going to start from the bottom. None the wiser. Oh my God, that sounds like a joke that I would do. So there you go. Is The Nun better, worse, or on par with The Boogeyman, says MM? I would say this. I like The Boogeyman better. I think The Boogeyman has more emotional, there are more emotional layers. So The Boogeyman is better for sure. 100%. Thaisa is Vera's sister, not daughter, says Enrico Palazzo for 2. Thank you for the correction. And Suns and Shadow says Nuns 3 double D. Triple D. Nuns, Beerosaurus Rex, Nun 3, Mass Panic. Kevin Apple, I don't mind old school suspense if done well. It is. It's old school suspense. Patrick Lemire says The Nun 3, Nunchucks, Kung Fu theme. Are the jump scares good, says Brock Samsonite. I actually thought they were very good because they're just, you know that they're coming. It's not here's a cheap jump scare. You quietly walk in a room and then a cat comes around the corner and meows really loud. And
then they get stabbed.
That's a cheap one. What I liked was that they were clever. John Thomas for 5. September 6, 1977, ISIS appeared on Saturday morning CBS. First woman heroine led show. Loved the show. I loved Mighty ISIS.
Oh, Mighty ISIS.
There was a show, Shazam, with the original Captain Marvel, which was a young boy, Billy Batson, driving around in a van with an old man. Nothing weird going on there. Nothing weird. But he would basically turn into Captain Marvel to basically move rocks blocking roads. The superhero efforts in Shazam were pretty low. It was, I mean, he could fly. It was a very cheap show. But I also watched ISIS as well.
It didn't improve until The Incredible Hulk came.
You know what I always loved is when they did these shows that were like they would do the preview of what Saturday morning stuff was going to be on. Those were always a lot of fun. So there you go. Thomas.
Didn't they do crossovers between Shazam and ISIS?
They did. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It was like a double hour thing, or like they did super hour. Why isn't this called Nun II more nunner? Says Thomas Pickett for 2. And final comment here from Rumble, 8Ellis24. As a Canadian, I am disappointed the Nun II doesn't follow up on the setting tease of rural early 20th century Quebec. The place and period is ripe for a religious horror film. Well, who knows, because I'm assuming there'll be a Nun 3, because this movie can't have been expensive to make. I mean, probably cost under 50 million for sure. Probably even around maybe like 30 or 40. But I thought was better than expected. So there you are. And Alan is asking, what is my gate?
You said to check my
with regard
gate.
to the sound. Check the gate. So,
oh, no, gain. I think you said gain.
No, gate. Gate is something. We'll talk about this after the stream. All right, we don't have a lot of time to talk about, are we going to do Amerikatsi or No More Bets?
See, I'm trying to find out where Amerikatsi is actually being played.
So you didn't see it yet?
I've seen it, but it's kind of like, we could talk about it, but I'm not sure where people can see it themselves. It was at CineQuest a couple weeks ago, and it says it's coming out today, but I've not found any theaters that's showing it.
Okay, well, we could do our review of No More Bets after our interview, or we can do this. What are we going to review? What are we going to review, Alan?
We could do No More Bets.
Here we go. Latino Slant for 5. Sup, homies. I'm going to do a live Satanic Hispanics unboxing right after this threat stream. Boo. Go to Paulie's channel at the top of the hour at 11 a.m. Satanic Hispanics unboxing. Did you get the Blu-ray? Paulie, did you get the Blu-ray? That's
cool. Or do you get a publicity box?
But Satanic Hispanics is coming to theaters. I think it's coming out on Shudder and in theaters next week. So there you go. That's on my list to see. It's an anthology horror feature. So it's a bunch of collected short films by Hispanic directors. Hispanic or Latino directors. Or I've seen the term now, Latine. Is that trying to replace Latinx? I'm so tired. You know what? Just
look, eventually they're going to get through the entire vowel set. So next it'll be Latini.
By the way, this stuff changes. This stuff changes all the time to find new things to be upset about. It's annoying. All right, quick review of, so Paul, we'll remind you at the end of the show. Quick review of Amerikatsi. Alan, go.
Yes. So Amerikatsi takes place after, well, it's I believe it's 1945. Basically, we all know about the Armenian genocide. Armenians have been dispersed throughout the world. And in this case, let me just pull up get the right date here. 1950. Um, what happened is Russia decided that they're gonna set aside a piece of land and give it to the Armenians. So Armenians from all over the world are invited to repatriate to New Armenia and under Russian rule. And so this American Charlie he decides he's going to go ahead and do that. His parents died. He's kind of alone. Why not move back to the motherland? When he gets there, he realizes Armenians are not exactly accepted. Are not really wanting to be there. It was more of a political show move on the Russians' part, and so he's experiencing problems, especially with trying to get his housing from the Russian government. In the meantime, while trying to do his business, he sees a crowd is forming. A kid is lost. A kid he finds the kid, and the kid winds up being the daughter of one of the Russian officials and his Armenian wife. The Armenian wife thanks him for it, says that maybe you can give him a job, maybe you can find him a good place to her husband. He says, sure, whatever. And instead of getting this new job in this new place, he winds up basically doesn't get along with the Russian official, and he gets suckered into confessing that he's a spy. And because of that, he is now sent to prison. And there's I guess there's kind of vibes of Life is Beautiful here, where the wife doesn't realize that he's been put in prison, and she thinks that he's living a good life, but now he's living in prison. He's not well liked there either, and while in prison, he's thrown in solitary confinement. And in there, he has one window, and it looks out over this Armenian guard who's guarding him, and he watches him day after day, night after night, with him and his loving family, and then things evolve from there. So, it's very much an indie piece. It's very much an indie art piece. Very dramatic. It's, you know, um, you could, it's just one of those where if you, if you like this story, if the story sounds interesting, you might find it. It's not going to have broad appeal, but there's I think the underlying theme of this movie is freedom. Here's a guy who is his freedom has been taken away from him, his life has been taken away from him, and while in prison, he has to decide what he's going to do. Is he going to fight on and live to one day hopefully find freedom, or is he going to give up and become a shell of himself? And he decides to find life in prison as best he could, and that's through not only watching the guard and his family across the way, but finding a way to help him when he's in the cell and can't communicate with him. And so, it's your pretty typical feel good drama, and done at an indie level. It's a good quality film. So there you go. That's Amerikatsi.
Okay. Well, there you are. I don't know. Listening to you talk about it, I'm not really enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's needs my mic needs a boost. So do I need to just turn the gain up? How's that?
We'll
Test,
we'll
yeah.
talk. We'll
Okay,
talk about
we'll
it.
figure it out. We'll figure this
Figure it out. We'll figure it out. But let's go to comments. There are 0 comments.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, I did not know much about the Armenian genocide and the Armenian plight
It says
from World War I and II.
Alan
Um,
Horkin says audio is a mess, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's weird because you
Alan's
hear me
mic
fine,
needs
but
a
it's
boost.
yeah. Maybe I need to switch back to the old mic.
Prison films need drama.
Hmm.
Is there a Gary Cooper setting on a mic?
Yeah, I'm just saying that.
It says
Yeah,
Alan's mic level is fluctuating.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that. Okay.
Maybe are you too close to the mic? Is it the gain? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You
See,
actually
the
sound
thing is, it's
fine
what's
to me.
coming out. It's what's coming out on StreamYard because you're hearing me fine. I'm hearing.
I
you
hear
fine.
you fine.
Yeah, and so it's whatever is coming out on StreamYard.
So it says your mic is fading in and out, it sounds like, says Sifax.
All right, I'm gonna switch over to the old mic.
Okay. then there were none. So there you go. And Nerd Adjacent has become a YouTube member. Well, thank you for that. Imperfect says, I'm sure the mic is fine. The processing is the problem. I don't know if you heard that, Alan. The processing is the problem. So maybe it's that mixer board that you have. I think you just have to make some adjustments on that. There should be a Bobcat Goldthwait mic setting. I don't know about that. Maybe someone just says restart, Alan. Yes, Sifax is correct. The moving the okay.
Sorry, so I'm on the old mic now.
Yeah. Okay. The old mic doesn't sound as good, but it sounds fine. Alan sounds fine to me, says Joseph. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I was told, like when I did that interview with about latent image, that Glenn was saying my sound was coming in and out, and I'm befuddled as to why it's happening.
The movie sounds touching, says Thomas Pickett. Yeah. Imperfect says, say something, Alan. Patrick Lemire says better.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's more and more movies coming out now about the Armenian experience. And it's coming out now than I've never heard of the Armenian genocide until maybe 10 years ago.
I knew all about the Armenian genocide because where I grew up in Michigan, there was a large population of people from the Middle East. And even when I lived in Los Angeles, I lived off Hollywood Boulevard for a period in this little Armenia, which is just this district with a lot of Armenian restaurants and small businesses. And they would always do a fair and have great food, by the way. And I knew about the Armenian genocide. If you know anyone who's Armenian in your life, you will know about the Armenian genocide. And it's one of those things where it's it's one of those that just is not as well known, which is really horrifying. And here we go. Thomas Pickett says Turkey won't admit to the Armenian genocide.
Well, and the other thing is the UN, other countries won't even call them out on it.
Yeah, we live in a horrible time. Our recent past, lots of people died for a lot of reasons. So I don't know. But Ken Bogus says, I've heard of it, but not gonna lie, I have no idea what really happened. Just the slaughter of 2 million Armenians.
Yeah,
it's horrific.
But this is the power of film. I mean, this is the only reason I know about the Armenian genocide and the details of it is through film, documentary, dramas like this. I've never known an Armenian until recently. I probably did, but I didn't know it, and I didn't know anything about them. And
I just had
documentaries.
I had Armenian friends. I had friends from Iran. I had friends who were Persian. Like a lot of people don't know this, but in Michigan, this area like Detroit and surrounding suburbs, that was the largest population of people from the Middle East outside of the Middle East. They just came to Michigan. Why? Because Henry Ford was hiring people for his factories to build cars. So that's how Detroit got built up. And a lot of people came from different places. The Irish, among others, came to Detroit. Polish. I grew up very proud of my Polish heritage. So there you go. I heard more than a few Polak jokes when I was a kid. But our special guest is here to join us today to talk about a film opening in. Now, well, you know what? He's going to tell us.
Let's ask.
Jacqueline Castel is here today. Thank you for joining us on the Film Threat Livecast. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining the show. Wait, okay.
I got
now
it.
we fixed it. There you go. Cool. Tell us about My Animal, because if you watch the trailer, you get a tease, but I'll say that it feels as if this movie is about much more than what's on the surface.
Yeah, it's a very multi-layered tale. It's a lycanthropic romance, but it's also a coming of age story, and it also at its center has like a real drama element of the story as well. But it's really like, you know, at its core, it's about this time period in our life when we're really struggling to understand who we are and what we want to become. And kind of the mixing that with like the horror of the outsider, which works really well, I think, in the horror genre. So yeah, it's an interesting and wild little tale that I hope everybody will respond to now that she's loose in the wild. So it'll be very cool to see how people respond to it.
Well, when you say lycanthropic, just for those that may not be familiar with that term, we're talking about werewolves here. We're talking about
werewolves.
Yes, which I love. I always love like a horror film that has like other layers to it. Is this what you were thinking? Because it begins as like a romance, right? And then something weird is going on. And at first you think, oh, is this some sort of BDSM thing happening here? And there are other reasons. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it kind of, I mean, the movie sort of starts off with this sort of ambiguous first sort of change that occurs with the lead character of Heather, and then kind of like flash forwards into like the present of what her life has become as a result of her condition, and then her first love, and then what that starts to bring out of her, or you know, all of the kind of wild and uncontrollable feelings that occur when you first fall in love with someone. So yeah.
Well, let's go to we have oh gosh, I don't know, 300 people watching live right now.
Oh, that's great.
Let's go to some comments and question. Brock Samsonite just says welcome. Solomon Thornton says, greetings, Miss Jacqueline. Any advice for beginning filmmakers?
I think you just have to completely stay true to yourself, because there's going to be a lot of people that try to tell you not to do what you know you want to do. And I would just say that you really have to stick to your guns creatively and push for all the things that you want, and just don't back down, because you're going to feel a lot of pressure to have people try to change it or mold it or put it into different directions or tell you what to do on set. And you just have to kind of always trust your instinct. I think that's like my best advice.
And then I have a question, like when you're dealing with like a familiar type of horror tropes, right? Like werewolves, what are the things I think it's always fun when someone takes like vampires and say, we're going to do vampires, but the rules are different. Did you have fun? Like, and what were some of the rules that you played with without giving too much away?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing that I was really excited about this script when I received it, was that it was a different way of telling the werewolf story. Because I think that compared to other types, you know, you mentioned vampires, and I think compared to other types of genres like vampire films, there just hasn't been as much variation with werewolf films. It feels like it's a little bit more molded into a specific idea of what it can be or what the genre is. And so I just love being able to play with the universe in a different way and tease things and set up my own set of rules, you know, for the world. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like things that don't give too much away in the way that it gets told in the film. But yeah, I mean, I think just like dealing with issues of like timing and just thinking a lot about like I don't know, there's a lot of ways that I played with the moon cycles and the way to anticipate it, or the way in which the visuals in the world kind of shift and change to reflect where the character is at emotionally, or where they're at in their own transformation. So there was a lot of playing around with a lot of subjectiveness in the film, in terms of really putting you in the character's perspective the whole time. So even if it's unreliable or a little fantastical as an effect. So yeah. Well,
I have to credit you on the trailer, because what I like is the trailer is very much a tease, which is what a trailer should be, and doesn't give a lot away. But Brock Samsonite has some sort of two pronged question here. Did you use more practical effects and prosthetics, or do you favor CGI? And then Brock goes on to say, are there any good werewolf transformation scenes in the movie? My favorite on-screen transformation is American Werewolf in Paris. Can you talk about the effects?
Well, I think so, I love doing things practically. We had like a lot of restrictions on this film, just with timing and making it during a pandemic, and it was very low budget. So just like having the time to get everything together on set wasn't always as possible. So I augmented things, right? Where it was like some things we started out with a pass of like actual practical elements, and then we added to those a little bit in post. But I think that's always that to me is like the best of both worlds, when you can kind of combine these different things, and that's when I think you can get the best look from it. I think in terms of a transformation scene, I'll just say it's probably not what people will totally expect, but that's part of what I enjoyed about doing it. So it's a little different in its execution.
Tom Siebert asks, holy cow, Mitch Horowitz is in it. He co-wrote and appeared in that recent surreal documentary about the revelatory occult book, The Kybalion.
Oh, yes, the Kybalion.
Kybalion.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah. No, Mitch does a really special cameo in the movie, which I'm super grateful and excited about. I feel like it always gets like a good laugh from the audience when I've seen it in the theaters. Last night we did our New York City premiere, like a sneak preview at Alamo Drafthouse, and as soon as he came up on screen, like everybody was just like so excited and kind of like yelling at the screen, which was great.
Cool. Akanika asks, what was the casting process like?
Well, I think, it was really the two leads, Amanda Stenberg and Bobby Salverman, was like they were kind of at the top of my list, and I knew I wanted to build the whole world around the two leads. And I started with Heather because I was like, everything has to come from Heather and who I cast for that role. And I have kind of a cool story about it. Probably about like 7 months before I started the casting process, I went to go visit the Wolf Conservation Center, which is in upstate New York. And I was there to just like watch wolves and see them in their natural environment. And when I was there, and I was talking to like the staff there and getting just information. And when I was there, they have this opportunity for you to adopt a wolf, like symbolically, where you actually like, pay for their like food and needs and stuff on site. And so I adopted this wolf just to sort of commemorate the beginning of the film process. And I adopted this wolf named Diane, who is the goddess of the hunt and goddess of the moon, and who I later found out was the goddess of tomboys. So I was like, okay, perfect, it's Diane. And I ended up adopting this wolf. And then maybe like 7 or 8 months later, we had started the casting process. COVID had hit. I was doing this, we were just doing it all online. I'd gotten the script off to Bobby, and Bobby, I think, was in the process of reading it. And then we had our, Bobby really responded to the script, and we hadn't had a chance to talk yet, but I knew Bobby really wanted to do the movie. And I got like a notification like right around then that was like, it's your wolf's birthday, because you're just getting adoption updates. And I realized in that moment that my wolf and Bobby were born on the same day. And I was like, okay, like Bobby's it. Bobby's supposed to be the lead of this movie. It's the wolf. It's been like preordained. So that was really cool and really special when that happened. And once Bobby was cast, then during our first Zoom, Bobby was like, who do you want to have play Johnny, the role of Johnny? And I said, well, I really want Amanda Stenberg. And then it was really cool. Another synchronicity was that they knew each other, and they were actually friends, and knew each other through like the queer scene in New York and LA. And they ended up, they actually, like, Bobby admitted that they had like crushes on each other when they first met. So I was like, how lucky is that you already have this kind of instant chemistry with your two leads. So that really was like very exciting to me. So that's really where they were like the heartbeat of the movie, like the heart of the whole movie from the get-go. And then it wasn't till we had to push the shoot because of COVID, and a lot of things happened on this movie. So then later on in the process, once we had like kind of gotten the rest of the financing together was when then I picked up the next part of the casting process. So, but they were really kind of at the heart of it from the get-go.
Question here. Razorburn asked Jacqueline, did you grow up with Lon Chaney Jr., Wolfen, and The Howling?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I love all types of cinema. I'm voracious with movie watching, and so I just like obsessively watched all sorts of different types of movies, all sorts of horror movies when I was younger, and from all different time periods. So that's always like reflected too in a lot of like my references for my films. They'll be from films from the 1930s and then films from the 1980s, and it'll be this whole kind of big mixture of stuff that enters into what influences me. But yes, I certainly did. And there's the opening of the movie features a clip from Fairy Tale Theater, the Shelley Duvall show. That was something I grew up on in the 90s. And like that show is so wild. And I opened it on Beauty and the Beast. And that Beauty and the Beast has Klaus Kinski as the Beast, has Susan Sarandon as Beauty. And then it was directed by Roger Vadim, who, you know, directed Barbarella. The whole thing is just like completely wild in the style of Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast. It's like completely insane that exists. So it was really exciting to me to be able to have that as like the opening, as this like childhood memory of watching that when I was a kid. So that's another little like cool thing in the film.
Spaceman has a question that I think is how hard is it to keep from falling into cliche horror movie tropes while filming?
Well, I mean, I think some of that is not always in the filming. I mean, some of it is, but I think it's also on the script stage. I think that's really where you're building out like your character and your world. So I think that's where you really have to watch for it. But when you're on set, I mean, you just have to like really trust and believe in your own decision making, your own style, the way you want to do things, how you're going to do it differently or just unique to yourself. So I think, you know, for me, like any kind of cliche is just something that hasn't been like fully mapped out, or it's something that hasn't been that's just like kind of generic, right? So the more personal you get with it, or the more that you craft it into something, the more you're going to avoid cliches, you know, like just like a good sentence structure, right? Like if you have a lot of generic words put together, it's not going to be an intriguing sentence, but if you go in and really craft it and hone it, then it becomes something that can completely transform your idea of something, you know? So I think you just have to always be thinking about it from that perspective.
A question from Rumble, because we are live also on Rumble. What was Jacqueline's impetus for filming in rural Ontario, and how was her time? Was the reason to stretch the budget further with the Canadian dollar?
Yeah, so we got financing from the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund, which is an incentive to bring productions to Northern Ontario specifically. So you can't, you know, use that money and film in Toronto, for example. So you have to go like there's a certain sort of area that they're trying to develop economically, and there's a lot of like huge sound stages that are being built in like Sudbury right now, like multi-million-dollar stages, and so there's a lot of production that's going on there. So that was, I mean, it made sense for the movie, right? And we needed this very snowy location. And there's just a lot of really cool, strange little towns up there. Like we shot in Timmins, Ontario, which is 9 hours north of Toronto. And it's an old mining town, and it's really wild. And I just love the locations because it felt really lost in time, which is something that I wanted the locations to be their own character. And so I was really, I mean, everybody thought I was like kind of insane because I was like, okay, you're taking the Northern Ontario thing like too far, you know, you're going too far away from Toronto. But I just fell in love with the town there. I thought it had like a real Twin Peaks vibe, like in the locations. And so I was just really, I don't know, I was really taken by it. And I know that like, especially on low budgets too, you really have to like rely on your locations because you're not going to have some huge production design budget to be able to turn it into anything you want. So I really was looking for places that looked how I wanted it to be. And it was more about like set dressing, just to help kind of support on that level. And, you know, again, like working with smaller budgets.
Alan and I see a lot of independent films, and I'll just say that to me, casting and location, two most important things. And
Absolutely.
you mentioning location being a character, I mean, that's really critical, especially with a genre film. So more
Yeah.
questions here. I hope you still have time. Wes Ray says, could you see yourself ever directing a slasher movie?
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, certainly I could see myself directing any type of film, just depending on, I mean, I guess genre is probably going to be more like my lane, I think, but I think just depending on how it's done. But that being said, I did direct a short slasher film that had the music of John Carpenter, and he did a little cameo in it called The Puppet Man, which was released in 2016 and played at Sundance as well in their midnight shorts section. So I did kind of play around a little bit with that genre as well.
I think your internet might be having some problems here, but
Oh
no, it's all good. It's all good. We can hear you fine.
Is it okay now?
No,
Okay.
yeah,
right now.
but it's okay. But one last question here. Want to know, where can we see this movie to support it? Says John B.
So right now, today, September 8th, it opens nationwide in theaters. It's going to be playing at the Alamo Drafthouse in select locations. And there's a listing of that up on the website at myanimalfilm.com and also on our socials, on Instagram, myanimalfilm. And there's also, I just got yesterday a whole list of other theaters it's going to be in nationwide. The Marcus Theater chain. I don't have all of those. I don't have all those cities on lockdown like I do the Alamo ones, because those ones have been kind of more burned into my brain. But I'm gonna post all of those new theaters as well. So it's gonna be in theaters, and then it's gonna be on digital on September 15th.
Well, there it is. You can see it. myanimalfilm.com. You can watch the trailer. You can find out where to see the film. And if it's not playing in your area, and by the way, Alamo Drafthouse, one of my favorite theaters.
Oh, it's such a great fit. Like it's so exciting to be Fantastic Fest helped to where they're presenting this film there, and I adore that chain. I've adored it for years, going to South by Southwest and being in Austin before they expanded, and it's like one of my favorites. So I'm overjoyed to be screening with them.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate to live. Los Angeles has in downtown LA. There's an Alamo Drafthouse. Amazing. Is like, just as a cinephile, when you go there, it's like going to church. I love it. So it's awesome. But go to myanimalfilm.com. Check out Jacqueline's movie opening this weekend. And I assume at some point, if you live in an area where it's playing in theaters, that you can actually see it on VOD. Jacqueline, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. All right. Take care. Have a great day.
Bye.
Later. Bye. That was awesome. She was awesome.
By the way, it's sold out at the LA Alamo Drafthouse tonight.
LA Alamo Drafthouse is sold out. That's awesome.
Tickets for tomorrow.
Okay, cool. All right. So it's sold out tonight. There you go. Check it out. I personally just love like genre movies, when genre movies flip and do things different, because I like classic stuff, a classic type of film, but play with the genre a little bit. A few more comments and questions, and then we have one more film to review for today. Let's see. Okay. Matthew Hammond says, I finished the Lazarus Project on TNT and would highly recommend at only 8 episodes. The rules of the TV show poses interesting ethical questions. Thank you, Matthew Hammond. And from Rumble, Aid Ellis 24 says, you know me, Alan. I always throw a bunch of questions on the board, so you always have something to ask the guests, not too fussed which ones stick as long as they hit. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Anarkitty supporter on Rumble. Thank you, Anarkitty. If you guys haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend watching The Artifice Girl. Great low-budget, thought-provoking indie film. I love that. Those are my favorites, the thought-provoking ones. Angry Yeti TV for 5. I'm about an hour behind. I'm surprised Old Yeller didn't make your list. Wait, why did it go away? Here we go. I'm surprised Old Yeller didn't make your list of dog movies. Shows it was definitely one of my favorites growing up. So
yeah, we were just coming up with dog movies. To be honest.
Nerd Adjacent became a YouTube member. Thank you for that, Nerd Adjacent. Let's see. We're pivoting here. We're gonna go through a few more comments. Chris, will you be, it says Wes Ray, Chris, will you be seeing the new Unsolved Mysteries documentary when it opens at the Alamo Drafthouse in October? I can only assume so. I like to take the train to the Alamo Drafthouse. I live right near the train, and it just goes directly. What's that?
Is it still safe to go there, or?
Well, because it lets you off right there.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I will more than likely see that. I think I'm kind of we're lining up interviews for October, and literally everything we're doing in October is going to be horror themed.
Yeah,
we're covering horror movies. We're going to cover, horror, just interviews with filmmakers, all horror. So there you go. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's pivot, Alan. We're going to pivot. There you go. Ms. P. Coffee says, sorry, wanted to start a comment and my mouse slipped. Well, guess what, Ms. P. Coffee? Watch out for slippery mice. Slippery mice is now going to be a thing. Do we have a video that addresses slippery mice?
Do we? I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't know. You know what's slippery? The floor.
Chris Gore here at Spin Fusion in Los Angeles, where I come to find the latest and greatest in DVDs. On this edition of Asian Underground, prepare to have wisdom knocked into your brain with a high kick. I mean a high kick. Oh, shit. Ow. Ow, my jeans.
What? The floor was slippery. We have slippery mice. We have a slippery floor at a video store. Come on, folks.
Yeah, it was all their fault.
All right. Time to pivot for a moment here, really quick. Let's talk about the film No More Bets. No More Bets is a Chinese film that is about online casino gambling and gambling addiction. It shows this world from all sides. You meet a group of young men that are super excited to travel to another country where they've all been offered these amazing jobs in the tech industry. They're going to work for a gaming company. Little do they know that they're basically going to end up being slaves, working in another country for a company that promotes online gambling. We see the story from sort of 3 points of view. The first point of view is this young man that we meet. His character's name is Pan Sheng, and he goes there and he's very good technically speaking, and he's forced to work for this company. We then meet the film then switches point of views to a character named Anna, played by Gina Jin, and she is a model that's fallen on hard times, and she's going to work for this company, and she's going to be sort of the physical incarnate. She's basically doing the online gambling. She's a model that you can gamble online, and she's the person, she's the person, throwing out the cards and helping you play, poker or whatever.
She's the face of the game, basically.
Yeah, the face of the game. And then you have Pan Sheng. He is the programmer, but they're all slaves and cannot leave this facility. It's basically ends up for a moment. It's like, I want to say a women in prison movie, but it's like women and men in prison forced to work for this company, and they've had all their phones taken away. Then we meet a character named Tien, that's right. And Tien is one of the people that is, so it's interesting that the way that the story is told, you see one person's point of view, Pan Sheng, the programmer, then we get to another person's point of view, Anna, the model, then another point of view. So the movie just follows this person and this person, and then the final person is this guy named Tien. Is it Tien?
Yeah, you're talking
the
the
gambler.
victim,
He's the gambler who's actually using this company, and he loses everything. His life savings, he loses his family life savings,
his home.
He's his home. He's addicted to this app to gamble, and it shows his life completely unravel to the point where he attempts to end things. And you see him do this, and it's horrific. This is about the first half of the movie. The second half of the movie pivots to an investigation by the Chinese authorities to go after this ring. It is a suspense thriller. It's action-packed. It's horrific. It reminded me of like those movies where someone is, imprisoned and they don't deserve it, and they're trapped in this world. And it's a nightmare. Also, by the way, No More Bets is the biggest movie in China this year. It's made over $500 million, currently $499 million at the box office. It's huge. I'll say this, and I want to get your opinion on it, Alan, because I don't think there were any white people in this movie. It was all Asian people. I have no problem with that. I don't care. The movie,
where it was set. I mean,
the movie lacked diversity.
Yeah, I believe one of the women, one of the models was white, but that was about it.
Yeah, were they? I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was kind of during the party scene, and okay.
Oh yeah, at a party scene there was a token white person in the background. Anyways, Nobody cared. I really enjoyed this film until it got to the third act. Here's why. It gets a little preachy, and it goes full propaganda from China, where they're showing these statistics about like gambling. They do the ceremony at the end honoring the police officers who broke this gambling ring. It is literally No More Bets is a cautionary tale. Don't get into online gambling. It is bad for you. It will ruin your life. It's literally the Chinese government saying, stop online gambling. Do not bet. All these things are a scam. You won't get the money. There's even a thing where it's just like, he didn't bet in time, so they're holding the funds. So this guy thinks he's made a lot of money, but he hasn't. And it shows how the programmers scam them and keep them on. It's like you're seeing. It almost reminded me of that movie, The Social Dilemma, the documentary that's on Netflix, because it shows how they get people addicted to gambling apps on the phone, and they're all scams, and you never actually get the money. And so they hire these attractive women to be the face, these programmers to do it. And then there's even a little thing about AI in the end. It's like, we don't even need all these people. We can just do all of this with AI. So for the first like 2/3 of the movie, like I was sucked in, like this is a really good suspense thriller, and the performances are great. The woman who plays Anna, Gina Jin, is fantastic. Very beautiful woman.
Yes.
But then it just gets so, and it's like, okay, I get it, but they didn't need to like so hammer you on the head with the message. I went to see it because I found it interesting that No More Bets is like the #1 movie in China right now. It's like big at the box office. It's not a Marvel movie, oddly enough. But Alan, what did you think of No More Bets?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat you are. I saw it as the that story of the blind men and the elephant, where one man is holding the trunk, thinking it's a hose. Another one is holding the leg, thinking it's a tree trunk. It's kind of one big issue of online gambling and taking it from different perspectives. The only downside to having done it that way was this movie's long. It's over 2 hours long. And it feels that way. And then
no, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, over 2 hours long. It
is over 2 hours long.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
But yeah, that third act, it all of a sudden then turns into a violent after school special. I mean, this is a pretty brutal movie. People get hurt, people get tortured. That whole. I mean, it exposes this world where we live in the United States. We can travel to the 50 states and feel relatively safe, but here people are traveling from one country to the next and has to deal with dealing with crime and crime families from different countries, and your ability to save yourself. That kind of hit home, and it got a little scary. I mean, these are not children who are being kidnapped and trafficked. These are human beings. These are full-grown adults, very attractive women and computer programmers.
Right.
I mean, that's a weird contrast there.
Right.
Yeah, I would recommend the movie.
Okay,
I don't know that I would giving a glowing recommendation. I think it was interesting. I think it was well done. And yeah, in China is the bestest ever. And
that was the thing that bugged me a little bit, was how great China is, that they busted this ring. They're so good, and whatnot. But I should have actually emphasized how brutal the film is. I mean, people are brutalized. It's their captors are cruel. They're horrific, and there's a whole conflict with the main captor, sort of the main antagonist, the main villain, who has a young daughter. So they try to humanize him a little bit, but he's also a horrifying person. I'll say this: I really enjoyed it because I went in with like low expectations, but it is incredibly brutal, and you see like there are consequences for everyone in this film. But the thriller aspect is amazing. They play it like the suspense thriller turns into like a cop film at the end, and then the sort of button on it is this propaganda, basically wagging the finger saying, "Don't you bet on those offshore gambling websites.
Don't you send Chinese money outside of China."
Yeah, that's exactly right. Don't send Chinese money outside of China.
Let the Americans do that.
They really focus on that. They focus on where the money goes, how it's like dispensed. I thought it was really well done in terms of so I'm recommending.
It's one of the better acted Chinese movies I've seen. I will say I always have a problem with acting, Chinese acting. It's just over the top. This one is very well done. And yeah, like you said, it's brutal. It gets brutal. And also, one of the biggest thriller elements there is, how are they going to get out of this? And you just can't figure it out. You just don't know how they get out of it. And that's what I like about good thrillers, is keep me guessing.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just, and I really like that the first sort of, maybe a little over a third of the movie is you follow this guy, then they follow the girl, they go back in time and tell her story to find out how she got where she is, catching us up to the moment that they meet like in a bathroom. He's trying to escape, right? And then she's in the bathroom where this guy is trying to escape. He's afraid that she's going to out him. And then they cut, and then they tell her story of how she got to the place that she's at. Then they go out of the world of the captors and the behind the scenes of this online gambling. And then they go to someone who uses the app that they're making. So it's cool that they shifted from these shifting points of view between these guys between these different characters to show the real cost. And it all comes together at the end. So I thought it was very clever. I could see an English-made version of this and them screwing it up. But I thought the brutality, like, you needed to show like that these are not good people. These are not good people. And you needed to feel something for the captors. And they really go through like what their daily lives are like and how horrifying it is. And then they give them their phone and send a message to your mom. Sorry you haven't contacted her for being busy. And they're basically at gunpoint.
Yeah.
Being told, send a message to a family member, tell them you're okay. So they don't think anything suspicious is going on.
And you also get a good picture of the control aspect of it. How they kind of beat and torture these people into submission. To the point where something happens at the end and you don't expect the captives to do what they do, and you realize, no, they've been mind controlled, basically.
Right. Well, I'm recommending No More Bets. I'd give it like a 7 or 7.5 out of 10. Alan, do you recommend
Yeah.
it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and definitely a 7.
Yeah, I think it's a solid 7. And really the thing that I would not, it would get more points, but I think that like sort of knocking points off for the ending gets a little propaganda. But the thing is this, the propaganda is actually like gambling is bad. It's like, yeah, it's for fun. It's bad. But yeah, you're right. It's almost like China made this as a piece of propaganda to tell people to not send money outside of China.
Yeah. I mean, look, that conspiracy hat, I'll put it on. Yeah, they're more concerned about Chinese dollars flowing out of the country and being lost to criminals than they are about their people having gambling addictions.
That's what I'm saying is it's like the message is something like, yeah, I agree with. I'm actually not a gambler at all. I will gamble for fun. I'm like, hey, I've got like $200 or $100. I am okay with losing it if I have fun sitting at a table gambling and then drinking for free, whatever. I'll do that. But I've never gambling to me, I just feel is kind of a waste of money. But if I'm in Vegas, I'll do a little bit and then I'm out. Like I just prefer to hang out with people and whatnot. But and I have real specific rules about how I'll gamble. Do not take this advice. This is not gambling advice. I'm only telling you how I play a certain game so I can play for a long time and lose less. All right. So here's my method. I like to play roulette. I think it's fun, which is the dumbest game that there is because it's a guessing game. Roulette is a guessing game. Okay. You've got black and red. You've got even and odd numbers. If you bet on a number, it pays, and you hit that number, it pays what, 35 to 1? Mm-hmm. And then, but what you can do is you can split your bets. So here's what I do. Do not follow this advice. So what I will do is take a couple $100 and I'll bet $10 on a color. So I bet on red. Then I only bet on black numbers. So what I'm doing is I'm covering my bet. So if I hit on red, I win $10 and I lose $10. So basically I'm even, right?
Yeah. This is why you're not rich, Chris.
This is why I'm not rich, because of this method. However, then it'll land on a black number and I get 35 to 1. I've lost my $10 because I've covered my bet. The only thing that will kill it is if it lands on 0 or 00, but I'll spread the chips around. So the table looks kind of weird where I'm like splitting between two numbers, which pays 17 to 1, right? So I'll split and I'll make like patterns, and I've covered like most of the black numbers, and then I bet on red to cover an outside, or same thing, odd even. You can do odd even, whatever makes sense, black or red, whatever makes sense. It just means I will lose less frequently, meaning I can keep playing the game. I took like $100, turned it into $400, and played for like 2 hours and drank for free at one of the times I was successful at this method. You have to know when to stop. And I was like, you know what? I took $100, made it into 400. Then what I do is it's my other method. I'm sitting here telling you I'm not a gambler. Now I'm telling you how I gamble. Then I take my winnings whenever I win and I put it aside and forget that I have it. So I'm only betting with the money that I with the chips I bought. I'm betting with those chips. Any winnings go off to the side and I just put it here. Sorry. I just put my winnings over here off to the side. So
yeah, casinos love you, Chris.
But I'm not a big gambler. I'm like, I'm just like, I'm in
They
Vegas.
just want you to give them their money.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I play poker. I don't play games of chance. I'll play games of skill. And so I play poker. The comps are not that great, but it's fun. And, that's what I do. And right. No, I'm not a very good poker player.
Yes, I am also not. So there you go. All right, let's so look, I recommend No More Bets in spite of the fact that it has kind of a preachy message at the end, which isn't a terrible message. It's just it's, hey, gambling is bad. It's just, I kind of already know.
We learned this is a true story. Gambling is bad. It is addictive, and they're trying to warn against that. It's just, and honestly, the third act feels like a SVU episode.
Yeah, the third act does feel like sort of like a TV SVU kind of thing. But yeah, that is the one thing that's really interesting. Like, a lot of films do this now. I mean, Gran Turismo did this, where there's a montage at the end. So they show you not just, they'll show you the real people that were involved in this. They showed you footage from the actual event is at the end of the film saying this is based on a true story. Not only that, here's the people that were fiction, that were, a fictionalized version, but this is a real thing that is happening.
And then also how pervasive this is in terms of, it's a scam. It's not even a legit online casino. It's a scam. It's worse than Vegas. The odds are designed for you to lose. In fact, they set up a full crypto scheme. And so none of it, you're not going to make any money. You're not going to meet these women, but it's pervasive.
Anyways, let's go to so I recommend it and Alan recommends it. Just go in knowing, hey, you might be a little propagandized on something you may already agree with. So there you are. Let's go to your comments and questions here, starting with Patrick Lemire. Says, my dad pointed at the buildings on the Strip in Las Vegas and told me, they don't build all of this because people win. It always stuck with me. Thank you, Patrick. Tom Siebert says, I didn't pay too much attention during Alan Ng's Jawan review. Did you note it's the biggest opening day ever for a Bollywood film?
Did not know that.
Well, now we know.
I went Thursday afternoon and my theater was full, mostly Indians. And every time the lead star showed up, just applause throughout the entire theater.
See, I love that. Like, when I got to see RRR, the first time I saw it, there were 2 people in the theater. Each time I saw it, there were progressively more and more people. And I finally started seeing it at like those, the TCL Man Chinese Theater, where it's 100% full every seat. It's like a concert. So
yes,
yeah,
my screening of No More Bets was full of Chinese people and no one applauded. So.
Yes.
I'm just saying,
my screening of No More Bets was also packed. And it was like, I saw it Monday at like 3 p.m, and it was a packed screening. So from Rumble, Winter Soldier sub-supporter, so the gambling dens are not fun like they are in Shang-Chi. Oh, 100%. They are not fun. These people are basically, it's slave labor. Labor.
It's slavery, definitely.
Let's see. Wait, we already got that. Okay. Davina Duckworth has a couple comments. Pay the government, not your loan shark bookie citizen. And so it was very moralistic, like state propaganda. Yeah, it was. But I don't think the message was a terrible message. Like, don't become a gambling addict because look what happened to this guy. He lost everything in his life, his family. There's a really horrific, touching scene where he goes to see his grandmother and his grandmother gives him money and he steals a piece of expensive jade jewelry from his grandmother. And as he's doing it, he is disgusted with himself. So he knows what he's doing is horrifying. And so you see the look on his face. Like, that's why you pointed out the acting was so good in this film. I would agree with you, Alan. The acting was so amazing. Like, just he is doing something wrong, knows he's doing something wrong, and cannot not do it. Like a drug.
His life is on the line.
Yeah. Shah Rukh Khan is a major star. Don was awesome.
He was the star of Jawan. And I mentioned there was the father and the son. He plays both the father and the son in the movie.
Yeah. Patrick Lemire, Asian countries have a passion for gambling that is its own thing. It's like a battle versus fate, as opposed to merely making money. And JTPRX says that's racist. I don't know what that was in reference to. Yeah. Probably when I said there's no white people in this movie, and Alan pointed out he saw someone in the background.
So, there was the one where they were dancing on the tables. One of them was white.
Yeah, and someone I lost it.
Yeah.
Chinese movie is Chinese movie.
Actually, that
Probably-
was the comment. That was the not.
Yeah.
That's a racist comment. Chinese movie
Yeah.
is Chinese. Yeah.
From Davina Duckworth. Probably not a bad message, says Joseph. I would agree. Is No More Bets in English or is it subtitled, says Brock Samsonite. There are different screenings. The one I prefer subtitled because I want to hear the actor's voice and the director's intention. Sometimes the dubbing is not great. So, but I believe that there are options. You really need to read carefully.
Yeah,
Same thing with Jawan.
I didn't see a dubbed option. So I saw
Okay.
subtitle.
But
And
check
and it moves
the
fast.
listings.
So
Yeah,
moves
check the
fast.
listings sometimes, especially when it comes to anime, they will offer options, dubbed or subbed. I tend to always go with subbed, personally. Mike MC Wong says they used her picture for prostitution ads, and the ad agency dropped her like hotcakes. That's the lead character, Anna. And English Batchers says online gambling is the best way to take money off poor people and give it to rich people. Why do you think it's promoted so much, so popular, accepted in sports? Please gamble, make this game even more fun. So, is this movie in American theaters? Asked Joseph. Yes, it is. It is playing at AMC. And by the way, it's at AMC Theaters, a chain partially owned by the Chinese. Did you know that?
Of course they are.
Yeah. And Mike MC Wong says Jawan was much better than No More Bets,
Yep.
but both are better than any of the major wide new releases of American movies this week. Well, there you go. And just a reminder from Paulie from Latino Slant, we're going to do a raid right now. Go to Latino Slant. Paulie's doing a Satanic Hispanics unboxing.
Paulie's going to post
right now.
a link to it.
He's going to post the link. He's going to post a link in the chat. So follow that. And Alan Horkin says gambling is a tax on people who are bad at mathematics. I just never took gambling very seriously. When I go to gamble, I'll go to Santa Anita Parkway to bet on the horses. And I usually just do $2 bets. So I spend about $20. And guess what? I usually leave with money because I don't bet on the horses. I bet on the jockeys. That's the best way to win. You check the jockey's winning percentage, see what horse the jockey's on, bet on that horse. Because I have no idea what, when you're looking at the horses, I don't know. It's a guess. And Paulie goes on to say, points out, no Mexicans in Chinese film, racist.
Well,
Well,
hey,
I think-
there are as many Mexicans in this Chinese film as there are Chinese in Mexican films.
I just can't stand dumb rules. And I prefer authenticity. I prefer if you make a Chinese film, make a Chinese film made by Chinese people, starring Chinese actors. So it's culturally more authentic.
Yes.
That applies to Latin cinema. It applies to whatever. And these Oscar rules are going to tank. I hope they go away. Forced diversity is stupid. And with that, we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you to our mods, Lord Thoth, Paulie from Latino Slant. We're all going there after this live stream. Thank you to Ms. P. Coffee, our intrepid producer, Glenn Brown. And also to Alan. Alan, I'll be seeing you later today.
Yes.
We're going to go
have
to
dinner and
we'll
have dinner and then we'll go see Chrissy afterwards.
Yeah, Yumi and Dante are going. We're going to have dinner and then we're going to go see Chrissy Mayer in Sherman Oaks at the Pineapple Hill Saloon. Go to chrissymayer.com for tickets. I believe tickets are still available. And we will be there tonight. The whole Film Threat posse and members of the Film Threat Thursday AMC movie meetup group will also be there. People like Mike MC Wong, Desiree, Ramesh, Grady Huckabee, the entire gang, AJ. I'm sure I forgot people, but there you go. All right, Alan, what do you have coming up this weekend?
Oh, I'll be at the National Comedy Theater tomorrow at 7:30 in San Diego, just south of Old Town. So if you want some good, clean Family friendly laughs.
It's fall on the floor laughing. Whoa!
See?
I have fallen off the stage at the during the
For
show.
real?
Yeah,
You
I got a stress fracture on my leg. I lost my big toenail. It finally grew back. It just grew back, and but I did fall once on the stage. It was pretty bad.
I think Alan's big toenail needs its own channel. Alan's big toenail should have its own, like a little window, a stream.
It was pretty gross for a while.
Well, you're not going to be on Wiki Feet with that attitude. All right. Thank you to everyone, and especially thank you to our audience that supports us every week. Give this a like, subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed. We're on the road to 100,000. We hope to get there before the end of the year. We have something very special planned for our 100,000 subscriber celebration. So we're 9,000 away, it looks like. So very happy about that. Alan?
Let's get out of here.